Hello everybody, welcome to Aaron Johnson Art, formerly known as Lightning Powered Art. And today I figured it would be cool if I did another commentary on top of my speed drawing. This is like my second time doing this. The first one I did was of a Wonder Woman picture, and I don't think a lot of people even really saw that video for whatever reason. So hopefully people see this one. Like, comment, share, and subscribe if you enjoy it. Let me know what you'd like to see next on this channel. And today I am drawing, or coloring rather, over an old picture from my brother, Atlas. If you haven't already followed him, follow his channel, Art by Atlas. And this is an old picture, but it's a really popular picture. In fact, it's probably one of the most famous pictures in my whole DeviantArt gallery. So, which better way to start a video than to do one of my most famous picture? And when I colored this originally, I colored this like in 2009, and I was like just starting to do digital art in a really deep level and try to get really good at it. So I knew that now, like, I'm 1,000 times better, and I wanted to see how this would look if I went back to revisit it. So what I do first is even my whole process is different now than what I did when I first started, because my main goal is to like save time now. And as far as like the details, I want to add as many details as I can, but do it economically, if that makes sense. So you can imply shapes the same way you do it with drawing. You can do it with colors. And as you can see right now, I'm putting a highlight layer. That's the brightest color. For this one, I did it differently than I would have done it like 9 years ago, 10 years ago, is that I'm not using the color white, and I'm not using the color black either on the shading or the lighting. So on this one, I used a really light yellow on the highlight, and on the shadow, I used a kind of dark brownish, but with kind of like a blue undertone to it. So I just go really fast over the whole body, not trying to make anything perfect right now. And I wanted this version of my colors on this picture to be way shinier than the original, which you could see there, which was kind of dry looking. And it had this, I was using the airbrush back then, so it kind of had that, you know, kind of blurred look on it, but it didn't look really that smooth to me. So I wanted to address that first and make this as shiny as I could, and not rely so much on the airbrush tool, even though I did use it. Right now I'm filling up a background, messing around with the background idea, playing with the effects. I don't want to do anything too detailed, but just enough to kind of put the focus on everything in an equal way. As you can see, I kind of did gradients. Like, this is one thing they always tell you kind of not to do or rely too heavily on, but I'm telling you, most pros use the gradient tool. But the way I used it here was interesting because I wanted to create temperatures. So I just used a blue color, a light blue, and then used a gradient at the bottom half of the picture over the whole body. Then I used the orange kind of tone for gradient on the top side, so let people know, like, hey, this is the sunlight, under her is like the, you know, like a secondary, like an ambient lighting, that's what they would call it. So it works here. Right now I'm just putting in highlights for the hair, and again, not using the color white or black, using a really light yellow, and just making really big lines over everything, not trying to be precise at all at this stage. I really don't even mess around with trying to get anything perfect until like near the very end, when I start to tighten everything up. It's important to me to keep the energy of a picture as far as my line arts and stuff. So if I spend too much time making them smooth at this stage, I'm tired, you know. So, and then sometimes it can even be hard to finish the picture at that. But so enough of that. Now I'll go over to right now her face area, just adding little details. Erasing some of the lines that were there because the scanner that he used at that time wasn't the best. So sometimes when you have a scanner that can't show like high resolutions, it'll tend to kind of glue lines together that were supposed to be separate. So I had to erase some of those lines and just redraw them again, you know, as clean as they actually are on the paper. In this case, it's her eyes that kind of got blurred out. Same with the mouth over here, which is why I'm erasing it in the face. There's like cross hatching there on the hands, which I'm not gonna touch. Some of the lines are kind of overlapping each other in a weird way, so I'm erasing some of those too. At the same time, I'm not staying too long on any one particular mode. Like I'll go back and forth from drawing to coloring to cleaning, just no order. Right now I'm cleaning the lines, the colors that are escaping out of the lines, because I want to add more gradients and like more shading effects. So I need to isolate it as much as I can. That way, when I do it, I don't give myself like triple the cleanup work. And then I zoom out. I stay zooming in and out of the picture to always give myself like a perspective of like, you know, how the whole thing looks. And I even, you know, of course I flip and rotate the picture around a lot too. So that's a huge thing. Like I was telling my brother, the one who drew this picture, and he wasn't even aware of this at the way I was describing it. But like in Paint Tool Sci, which is what I'm using right now, it's different from Photoshop in the sense that you don't have the ability to resample. So Paint Tool Sci is really simple when it comes to like some of those, you know, extra features that we take for granted in Photoshop. For one, it can't resample. So if you resize lines, for example, and you try to make them smaller, and then you try to make the thing you made smaller bigger again, you actually lose quality. As far as the lines, you're losing quality. There's no way to get that quality back. Sometimes that's a good thing because you might want to smooth out a line or a color in a, you know, in a kind of fake way, but it works. But 99% of the time you don't want to lose that resolution. Whereas on Photoshop, you're not going to lose resolution because it has a resampling algorithm. Actually, it has like around like 5 or 10 different resampling algorithms. Unlike Photoshop, however, Sci has one big bonus, is that it allows you to rotate, flip, you know, the camera around, so you can, just like a normal paper, you can see what you're doing and move around without destructively editing the picture itself. Whereas in Photoshop, you don't have the ability to move the camera without affecting the image. So if you flip the image in Photoshop, you've actually flipped the image. You're not just flipping the camera. Does that make sense? So that's a big difference and advantage that Sci has over Photoshop. The non-destructive movements and camera editing, but there's a trade-off in that you can't resample your image, so you lose the quality of the lines if you resample things. So yeah, just taking a little side note of that. Right here I'm still cleaning things up and adding details right now on the glasses. not sure if I want blue or white. So a lot of times, another thing that I do is I will put one color, and then if I don't like the color that it is, or I feel like maybe another color might complement it more, I'll actually just change the layer mode. So I don't actually have to go back in and change the color if I change the layer mode. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. If it doesn't, just change the color, no big deal. But a lot of time it works. So it worked for the glasses at this point, I feel. And I'm putting another gradient kind of thing. Actually, it's not a gradient. I just took the airbrush and put it over the skin to give it more of a glow at this point. So I want this picture to look real shiny and wet, you know, because like my brother Atlas, like when he colors stuff, they have this amazing shine to everything, which is a very, you know, modern comic book style coloring technique. But I like to kind of smooth things out or keep them flatter. But you know, a lot of people will hire me and they'll ask for comic book style coloring, so this is that. Like, I'm trying to do that coloring style for this picture to keep the, you know, the spirit of the lines intact. And like I said, as I go into the coloring, I'll keep switching into the drawing mode and switching into the coloring mode. And as I advance throughout this picture, I notice certain colors don't work, certain colors do, or you can just change the mode. So those highlights that I put on her body, especially on her like shoulders and her butt and stuff, kind of give her a nice tan. They were yellow originally, so I just used the slider and made it red, which really looks natural, as you can see. And I'm going back into the highlights now, the sunlight, and kind of smoothing it out because it was just like a big block on her shoulder. I wanted to kind of imply the shape of like the bones. And also, as you can see, I added a little bit of detail to the corset as far as like wrinkles. Like on each layer of the shadows and the light layers, I'm just scribbling pretty much, try to add more like wrinkles that the line art just kind of hinted at, but it didn't go out of its way to like draw all of that, which is actually better for me as the colorist to actually color those details in. And now I'm back at the hair right now, filling in the gaps, putting like shadows under parts of the hair that are like curling up, and kind of smoothing out the highlights on her hair, the top of her head. Overall, there's like, the main thing is I feel like about my coloring style over the years is that like where I spent a lot of time in the past trying to make every part smooth and overall getting kind of a drier looking picture, nowadays I get a really smooth and wet looking picture, but it's not as like, I didn't spend half as much time having to like, you know what I mean, like redraw lines over and over and stuff, if that makes sense. So this actually looks smoother now, despite the bigger and blockier way I'm placing the colors on things, if that makes sense. Like, and then for extra realism on the glasses, I actually add a layer of light, you know, like refracting on her cheeks, so you can see that blue layer. And I just, rather than make it switch the blue, I just change the mode and then add another layer for a super highlight, just to make the glasses look, you know, like glass, right? And I do the same thing on the pillow, and you can see that I kind of put a hint that like maybe her skin is reflecting light onto the pillow, so that's why I added a yellow kind of glow area. But I'm gonna change it right now to see what that looks like. Made it a little more pinkish. and messing around with the saturation on her hair. And another big thing I do is kind of like color grading in movies. Is like you can actually take one layer, make it one color, put it over everything, set that layer to overlay, and it'll immediately just glue all the colors together with the color that you've created. So in this case, I made it a red or orangey type of color overlaying on everything in like very top layer, and that kind of gave us a really unified color. But then I figured there's too much blue at the base, so boom, I cut the base. That way you can still see that the true color of the pillow, and it's how red it is, because in the original one it was a red pillow, and here I made it blue. But boom, by cutting that gradient out, made it red again. And I made her hair true red, and unlike the original, and that's pretty much it. There you have it, like 2018 Aaron Johnson art colors versus 2009 lightning powered colors. Let me know what you guys prefer better. I think is way better now, and it's a lot of things that went into consideration as far as making it more realistic, but still preserving the fantasy element of the whole thing. And I told Elijah, like, or Atlas rather, I told Atlas, like, he needs to make more drawings like this, like, cause this is super nice, you know. And so let him know that too, if you agree with me. And I'll try coloring them as he makes them. And that's about it. Like and comment, share and subscribe. Let me know what you guys want to see next. As always, I have a music channel. I do a lot of tech reviews on it, unboxings. Godson Official Music is that name of the channel, so subscribe to that too. And I will see you next time, hopefully with another commentary, because this is pretty cool and it gives me a nice change of pace from all the speed drawings. So I saw like 1 or 2 comments that said they like if I slowed the videos down, so maybe this is what you guys were looking for. Alright, talk to you next time. Peace.